Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good day. I bid to Dr. Ashraf and Dr. Marwan, as well as fellow viewers. Today, we are going to talk about the economic agenda for Malaysia entitled Empowering Rural Malaysia, an Economic Blueprint for Poverty Alleviation. This is an overview of what we're going to talk about today. First, we're going to talk about introduction. What is a persistent issue? Why we focus on rural areas? What are the focus areas and priority sectors? How it relates to Maqasid Sharia? We're going to end with some conclusion and you can see the references. Without further ado, let's begin with an introduction. Despite Malaysia's prominent position in the global Islamic finance sector, poverty remains a pressing issue in many parts of the country. Rural areas and marginalized communities continue to struggle with limited access to opportunities and basic amenities. Malaysia's journey toward poverty alleviation underscore the complexity of socio-economic challenges, demanding a concerted effort to bridge the urban-rural divide and ensure that economic prosperity reaches all segments of society. Now, let's talk about what is the persistent issue. So according to Datuk Sri Dr. Ahmad Zaid Hamidi, he mentioned that in 2019, the poverty rate in rural areas was 12.4% compared with the national rate of 5.6%, and the gap continues to grow every year. He also mentioned that it is becoming more critical and must not be allowed to become more severe. Something drastic and radical needs to be done now if you do not want rural areas to be left behind. Aligned to what he said earlier, as you can see in your bottom left graph, it's indicating the poverty rate in rural and urban areas. Even though the poverty rate in rural areas is showing a downtrend, however, the gap between the rural and urban is still huge. Next, let's talk about why we focus on rural areas. There are a few reasons. Number one, balanced growth and development. Concentrating on rural poverty will ensure that economic growth is not just restricted to urban centers, leading to more balanced and inclusive development patterns across the country. Number two, utilizing untapped potentials. Rural areas often have untapped resources, both in terms of human capital and natural resources. Investing in these areas can unlock new economic opportunities and sectors for growth. Number three, enhance agricultural productivity. As agriculture is a significant part of the rural economy, focusing on poverty alleviation often translates to increased agricultural productivity, leading to a food security and potentially lucrative exports. Number four, global commitment. Malaysia's commitment to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or also known as SDGs, particularly number one, no poverty, further underscores the need to address poverty in all of its forms, including in rural setting. In addition to that, there's also a hadith saying, Kadal fakru an yakuna kufra, which means poverty can almost turn into disbelief. So as the government, we have the power to change this. So let's together, we overcome the issue. In this slide, we're going to talk about our focus area and our priority sectors. Our focus area, as mentioned earlier, is poverty alleviation in rural areas. Islamic economic is about equality and well-being. Poverty reduction improves social unity and ensures dignity for all. In rural areas, poverty reduction is crucial. A healthy rural population can balance national growth, reduce urban migration, and ensure food security. We can create a happy society where the rural-urban divide is overcome and everyone benefits from collective success and well-being by emphasizing Islamic concept of shared prosperity and equitable distribution in these areas. There are two priority sectors. Number one is education. Education in rural areas is a transformative tool vital for poverty alleviation. It equips individuals with advanced farming techniques, fosters health and nutritional awareness, and promotes gender equality. Furthermore, by bridging the digital divide, it ensures rural communities remain connected to global advancement, driving economic growth and empowering individuals to break the cycle of poverty. Number two is agriculture. Focusing on the agriculture sector is necessary for poverty alleviation in rural areas because it directly aligns with their primary economic activity. Enhancing agricultural practices increases yield, ensures food security, and boosts income for the majority. By modernizing and investing in this sector, rural communities can achieve sustainable growth, reduce vulnerabilities linked to crop failures, and capitalize on local resources, leading to holistic development and reduced poverty. Now, let's deep dive into the education sector. There are a few initiatives under the education sector. The first one is establish community schools. Construct and adequately staffed schools in remote locations to ensure all children have access to primary and secondary education. Number two, Mobile learning units deploy mobile libraries and classrooms equipped with educational resources to reach the most remote areas. Next, tailored curriculum. Develop a curriculum that integrates practical skills, especially in agricultural, local craft, and entrepreneurship, catering to the unique needs of the rural community. Next, vocational training. Set up vocational training centers teaching skills like carpentry, sewing, or basic computer operation, which can lead to local employment or small-scale entrepreneurship. Next, digital literacy. Incorporate digital literacy programs to equip students with basic computer skills, enabling them to access online resources, governmental services, or even e-commerce platform. Last but not least is teacher training. Regularly train teachers ensuring they are equipped with modern skills and are sensitive to the unique challenges faced by students in rural areas. Next, let's deep dive into the agriculture sector. There are few initiatives under agriculture sector which are modern farming techniques. Introduce and train farmers in modern farming practices like crop rotation, integrated pest management, and precision agriculture to increase yield and reduce cost. Next, access to quality seeds and fertilizers. Ensure farmers have access to high quality seeds and fertilizers at affordable prices, possibly through subsidies or cooperative buying. Next, irrigation infrastructures. Develop and maintain efficient irrigation systems to reduce dependency on unpredictable rainfall patterns and enhance crop yield. Next, post-harvest management. Implement post-harvest storage and processing facilities to reduce wastage and add value to agricultural products. Number 5, market access. Establish farmer collective or cooperative to negotiate better prices, access larger markets, and reduce middleman exploitation. Last but not least is microfinance and credit. Offer microfinance solution and easy credit facilities tailored for farmers, enabling them to invest in their farms without crippling debts. All the initiatives we mentioned earlier are aligned with Islamic values. The first one is social justice in terms of community development. Both sectors can play a role in community building. In Islam, the concept of ummah is central. By uplifting communities as a whole, individual welfare is also promoted. Next is regarding the wealth redistribution. This is aligned with the equitable distribution principle in Islamic values. As per Islamic principles, wealth should be distributed to prevent extreme inequalities. The education sector can promote this through teachings, while the agriculture sector can achieve this through community farming and zakat. Next is ethical practice, which align with the ethical conduct principle in Islamic values. Both sectors can adopt and promote ethical practices in line with Islamic values. For instance, fair trade in agriculture ensures farmers get a fair price, while academic honesty and integrity can be stressed in the educational sector. Last but not least, welfare program which align with the social welfare values. Use part of the profits from the agricultural sector to fund welfare programs. This can be in line with the Islamic principle of giving back to society. Before we end our presentation today, let us relate the initiative earlier with Maqasid Sharia. The first one we can relate with preservation of life or an-nafs. Educational program can teach students about the proper usage and storage of agricultural chemical, the importance of using personal protective equipment, safe machinery operation, and the risk of long-term sun exposure, which can reduce crop losses and potential health risks to humans. Additionally, when agriculture is advanced and optimized, it directly results in increased food security. This not only ensures that there's enough food for the community, but also that the nutritional quality of the food is enhanced, thereby contributing directly to better health and vitality. Next is preservation of intellect or akal. As rural regions receive better educational infrastructure and resources, it leads to the stimulation of intellectual growth. An educated community values critical thinking, innovation, and inquiry. This intellectual empowerment extends to agriculture as well. With better knowledge, farmers can adopt innovative techniques, maximize yields, and understand the different degree of modern agricultural practices. And last but not least is preservation of wealth and property, al-mal. With a sound education, individuals in rural areas can access better job opportunities, leading to improved income and financial stability. When intertwined with agricultural advancement, the results are even more promising. Efficient and modern farming methods can significantly increase yield and productivity, thus ensuring that a larger portion of community is economically stable. In conclusion, Malaysia's Islamic economic agenda provides a unique perspective on economic development that emphasizes social justice, shared prosperity, and equitable distribution. The proposed policies and frameworks focus areas and priority sectors align with Islamic values and address the country's economic challenges, particularly in rural areas. By applying the core principle of Islamic economics, Malaysia can achieve sustainable and inclusive economic growth that benefits all segments of society. With that, I end my presentation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.